heck, for the last 60 years, the enterprise has been using a password and a user ID as a set of credentials or secrets, and they've performed admirably well as a perimeter control for that time frame.
Yeah.
But they're obsolete today. They're
Mhm.
fundamentally obsolete. And the reason is because about 5 years ago, the threat actors figured out that instead of trying to target specific enterprises, they're just going to harvest credentials and try those credentials on any sites and any assets that they have access to. And it turns out that they get about a 2% hit just using credential stuffing techniques. And so they do account takeover for, if I have 10,000 credentials for 200 accounts. And guess what? I'm trusted in those accounts, and I can do whatever I want in those accounts as a threat actor.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just eating away the fundamental authentication control and effectiveness of a password. And so passwords are obsolete. And so the irony is that we in the cybersecurity industry, we think, well, we have to introduce friction for the threat actor. So what do? We introduce friction for the consumer at the same time.
Yeah.
And there's actually a better way of doing that if we unlearn what we learned about authentication. What does that mean? It means that authentication, I was taught, was an event. It had a beginning, an end, and then a binary outcome. It's kind of like going to a hotel and having a key card that you get from the lobby when you check in. You go to your room, you try it out. If it works, you're in. If it doesn't, you're not. If it works and you're in, you're trusted. It's over. That's the event, right? Oh, by the way, we used to go to hotels. This is pre-pandemic. The hotels that you travel to a city, go to a hotel. I have to remind people that used to be the life back before the pandemic. We'd go to these hotels. But anyway, right? So that's an event. Now, we were all taught that authentication was an event. I think the new model is authentication is a continuous process. And there's a lot of behavioral attributes of the technology that we're using across channels that can be factored into establishing a pattern. And actually deciding whether a set of events match a pattern is really easy to do. I mean, mathematically representing these as algorithms and comparing algorithms to algorithms gives you a really easy way of identifying deviation. And then the enterprise can decide what to do based on thresholds of that deviation score across multiple attributes. Now, all of this can happen in real time with no user involvement, and it creates tremendous friction for the threat adversary, and it creates no friction. It actually removes friction for the customer or the employee. But all of this technology is available today. We can do this today. There are enterprises doing this today. And from my perspective, authentication and part of the identity access management framework, it's part of zero trust. It requires a different level and a more mature approach to authentication to be able to give resource to any person at any time from any geography through any channel. And ultimately, that is the direction for zero trust.